Welcome everyone to the Revenue Subcommittee meeting for April 6th. We have a longer list for today. Hopefully it should go relatively smoothly. Let me first mention Senate Bill 787, which came in making some, you can sort of see it as a corrective bill, some corrections to the digital ads gross receipts tax and the tobacco tax from last year. We are working on a series of amendments, and a draft in progress was shared with you by George to also include some provisions making corrections to the digital downloads bill. There are a number of issues that have been raised by various stakeholders about the digital downloads bill that George and I and the Comptroller's Office and a lot of different stakeholders have been trying to work through. We had hoped we would be done with them in time for subcommittee today. But there are three remaining outstanding issues that we have a meeting with some folks from the Senate to try to hammer out this afternoon. So take a look at some point in the next 24 hours to those amendments on 787 to familiarize yourself with it. And as soon as we have a final version of those amendments, we will share it with subcommittee members so you have a chance to take a look at them. So we will not be voting on SB 787 today. We will take that up in subcommittee tomorrow. Let's look so that Stan can get back to other work. We're going to take a look at a pair of tobacco tax bills, HB 1324 and SB 883, which are cross files of each other. These bills relate to out-of-state sales of premium cigars and pipe tobacco, although we have a committee amendment. Stan, can you go ahead and explain the amendments on that bill?
Sure. So the amendments to Senate Bill 883 just focus on the issue of taxation of pipes and hookahs. In the bill that you passed last year on the tobacco tax, it changed the definition of other tobacco products, and for the first time it included pipes and hookahs. And because of that change in the definition, it actually subjected them to the excise tax for the first time at a 53% rate under the law as it passed. So the amendment actually takes those items as well as rolling papers and filters out of the list, out of the definition of other tobacco products, and instead subjects them all to tax at under the sales and use tax at a 12% rate. And then the amendments to the House Bill 1324 just make that same amendment and then also conform the House Bill to the Senate bill, incorporating the amendments that the Senate adopted, which restored the Wayfair thresholds for the tax and made a technical change.
So essentially, in last year's bill, we set a rate for electronic smoking devices at 12%, but because filters, rolling papers, pipes, and hookahs were classified as other tobacco products, they went from the 6% sales tax that they'd previously been paying to the 50-some% excise tax. That wasn't, I think, fully the intent. So this brings electronic smoking devices and traditional tobacco smoking devices in line at a 12% sales tax rate. Delegate Buckle?
Yeah, that was kind of my question. So in the one context, it's a clarifying language that would reduce the effective tax rate that they could possibly be construed under law today because of last year's bill. And then I'm just a little concerned, and that's what I was trying to clarify. You said that all these things used to be taxed just at the standard sales tax of 6%. And now we would reset that rate at 12. Why reset something at 12 that's not like a pipe or a hookah? You set that just at the regular 6%. It's not the actual tobacco product. I'm not familiar. I've never smoked in my life, as some of you know, to be honest with you. But to me, a hookah could be used to smoke things other than alcohol, or not, excuse me, other than tobacco or illegal products. I thought hookahs could be used for things that are like fruit-based stuff. At least that's what I was told.
So essentially what we did last year is we made this distinction between tobacco and essentially tobacco related paraphernalia for vaping.
Right.
But we didn't make the same distinction. So the effect of this amendment is essentially to drop these tobacco-related paraphernalia from the OTP excise tax rate to this enhanced 12% rate. And I think the policy argument for them being at 12% rather than 6% is these are devices used to deliver harmful products. It's just another way to discourage the use of these products.
Okay. I mean, I like the argument if we treat similar things similarly. I just don't want it to be construed for myself or for our members as we're somehow increasing taxes. I think it's fair from what you said and what Stan said. If we don't do this particular amendment in this bill, they would remain at 50% under the existing law under that excise tax formula.
53, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll sell that as a tax cut then. Thank you.
Are there other questions or comments on these amendments? Okay, we'll start with the Senate bill because it's the simpler amendments. I move the amendments on Senate Bill 883.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or sorry, raising your hands. Sorry, I messed that up. Raising your hands. Okay. All those opposed? All right. On the bill as amended, is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? All right. SB 883 is recommended favorably to the committee. On the cross-file, HB 1324, so as Stan said, these amendments do the same thing on the cross-file, but also conform it with the Senate bill. There were some really technical changes that were made. So I move the amendments to HB 1324.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Okay. On the bill as amended, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? All right, Stan, that's it for you, right?
That's it. It's the only time I'll be visiting your subcommittee this year, so good to see you.
Thanks for joining us. Good to see you as always. Thanks for your work on those bills.
Stan the man.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's turn now to SB 102. Senate Bill 102 is a cross-file of one of the two preceptorship bills that we had considered in committee previously. The amendments that Stan sent around would conform this bill to HB, George, it was 1252, right?
Correct, sir.
So to make it exactly to fold both of the preceptorship credit bills into this bill.
Correct. And if you'll recall, that did pass the House 138-1.
Who was the one?
Welcome.
Don't recall offhand.
I got confused that day.
Is there a motion on the amendments?
Move favor.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? On the bill as amended, is there a motion?
Move favorable.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Delegate Barnes, we can't really see you because of the way the camera's pointed, but periodically your hand just sort of rises up out of the.
You gotta raise it up above your head.
I was eating my lunch and I didn't want to be fully on.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm just kidding with you. If you want to be slightly off screen to eat, that's fine. That's fine.
Just raise your hand over your head. Hey, we can see it.
SB 133 is the cross-file of Delegate Blokovich Carr's bill allowing counties to progressivize their income tax rates. George, my understanding is the Senate amended it before it left the Senate to be identical to what we had passed out of the House. Is that correct?
Now, if you'll recall, there was a question that was raised regarding the potential interaction of the legislation with provisions concerning disparity grants to the counties. The Senate addressed that matter in their Senate bill, and they are in the process of amending the House cross-file to be in the same posture as this bill.
Okay. But we don't need to make any amendments to
Correct. No amendments are necessary to this bill.
are there any questions or discussion on the bill? Go ahead, Delegate Buckle.
Does the bill still, as a my recollection of the House bill, it still keeps the current cap at 3.2?
That is
It
correct.
raises the floor technically to whatever Worcester County's actual de facto floor.
That is correct.
2.5. But it does not require, as you know, I mean, I've supported this concept in the past because I think it's the only way for counties that are already at 3.2 to provide any form of a real tax relief without revenue losses, because they could adjust the middle class down. I do have some concern about there's no limitation on this to say that if a county chooses to create the bracket and say the higher bracket will pay X amount, they don't have to correspondingly set that off, so to speak, with any type of reduction for the middle class or whatever they determine to be the other bracket. There's nothing in the bill, George, that requires the counties to do that, correct? So they could come in and say, we're going to have a 3.0 bracket for whatever we consider the top bracket. We're already at 2.8. We're just going to leave everybody else at 2.8. So it's not going to be a cut for anyone at all. It's just going to be a raise to a 3.0 bracket for the higher income. That would be feasible under the bill.
That's correct. That is feasible under the bill. That would be up to that individual jurisdiction to decide.
That's my only heartburn with it, is just the concept of, will Anne Arundel County in particular simply use it to increase taxes on one group of taxpayers without providing any actual adjusted tax relief for the majority of other filers. But I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Delegate Balakovich-Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll just note, in terms of Anne Arundel County, since they were brought up, their testimony to the committee actually included written testimony with several scenarios. I mean, I think they are actively looking at tax cuts. And probably at this point, Anne Arundel may be the only jurisdiction that goes forward here in the near future in terms of utilizing this bill. But I mean, they actively are looking at ways that they could do a revenue neutral tax cut for lower and middle income folks.
I mean, and I'd add, I mean, under the scenario you're outlining, Delegate Buckle, I think you're right. That is something that a county could do. But, you know, arguably, if a county was under the revenue pressure and wanted to raise additional revenue, this would allow them to, so.
Yeah, that's my philosophical conundrum is I think they could do this anyway. I'd like to see if they want to raise revenue, not raise it on the middle, and maybe in some of your jurisdictions more than mine, even what we would define as the upper middle class. Technically, but you know, with your housing prices and costs, it's being upper middle class doesn't really amount to much in a lot of portions of Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County. Having a household income of $150 a year is not much. Whereas in my community, $150,000 up in a year is doing quite well. So that's my only concern. But I mean, I think you're right about the logic of it. It's just a conundrum.
Yeah, Delegate Long.
Yeah, the county can already do this through the constant yield rate. Am I correct? They can lower, raise taxes.
Constant yield is a property tax component, right? Am I wrong with that, George?
That's property tax. That's right.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yep.
No worries. No worries.
Just wanted to make sure.
I try. That's Delegate Barnes' subcommittee. I try not to even think about property taxes. So, any further questions on the bill? Is there a motion on the bill?
Move favorable.
Second.
I'm off. There it is. Okay.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed? All right. The bill is recommended favorably to the full committee. Senate Bill 257 is the cross-file of Delegate Young's bill that we passed earlier in session that creates a vendor collection credit for job training. There is an amendment on this bill which would, as we did with the House bill, reduce the fiscal note from $250,000 to $100,000. So I move that amendment, the conforming amendment.
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? On the bill as amended, is there a motion? And remember, this is Delegate or the Senator Gazone's bill. So, you know, if you want to be the one to make the motion on his bill, go.
Move favorable.
I was
Second.
looking at Delegate Feldmark and Delegate Polakovich-Carr, who both have bills sitting in B&T right now.
Nay, so do I, Mr.
Oh, do you?
Majority Leader. Yeah, it's Bill 1255.
I gotcha. Okay, so been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed? All right, Delegate Ivey, I'm going to send a text message to Senator Gazone to let him know you made that motion. So
Thank you. Seriously, thank you.
Let's talk about Cecil County. So we have a pair of bills, HB 582 and Senate Bill 294. And as the subcommittee will recall, over the last couple of years, we've had a number of similar bills that are essentially designed to create a sales tax exemption for the purchase of construction and warehousing equipment in specific places where incenting redevelopment has been difficult. So this has been used at a site in what's it called? The old Sparrows Point project.
Trade Point Atlantic.
Yeah. Trade Point Atlantic. It's been used at the old another facility in eastern Baltimore County. It's been used at a facility in Washington County. This would be the fourth time we've done it. You know, to the members of the subcommittee, the reason the House bill's been held this long is I have some discomfort with the legislature picking individual projects to give these kinds of exemptions to. So I had been working with George and in conversations with the department to try to draft amendments that would essentially have given MEDAF the ability to grant out of their funds a refund for sales tax expended on construction and warehousing equipment. The department came back and said that they didn't think that the MEDAF solution was workable for a whole host of reasons. And so I think in talking with George and the chair, we're all kind of the mind that this is something we should figure out a longer term solution for. But in the meantime, we should go ahead and since the Cecil County project at Bainbridge has similar challenges to the other projects that we've previously granted these exemptions for, that we should go ahead and grant them. So, you know, the bills, I think, George, if we do that, don't need to make any amendments. We can just pass them. Am I wrong?
There is a amendment to House Bill 582 to put in the same posture as
Right.
Senate Bill 294. That amendment clarified the term of federal facilities redevelopment area to specify that the property must have been transferred from the federal government to the state or to the Bainbridge Development Corporation, and must be entirely under the environmental oversight and management of the State Hazardous Substance Response Plan or the Volunteer Cleanup Program.
And those amendments came from the sponsors of the bill. They're designed to make sure that this really only applies to the Bainbridge property rather than other properties. If you're not familiar, Bainbridge is a former naval facility in Cecil County. It's a brownfield. It's had significant issues with hazardous waste remediation that they've been attempting to resolve. So let's start with the Senate bill, since that's clean and we don't need to do any amendments on it. SB 294. Are there any questions or discussion on SB 294?
I'd like to move favorable.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in, sorry, Delegate Bucko, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was jumping ahead. I'm ready to.
You were getting ahead of me. What? Okay. All those in
Ahead of me,
favor,
man.
please raise your hands.
I haven't eaten lunch yet, so I'm still.
Any opposed? All right. So that bill's recommended favorably. On its cross-file HB 582, I move the conforming amendments.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right. I move the bill as amended.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? So that'll be a bit of an interim project if you're interested in working on trying to figure out how to make sure that there's a process and some sort of criteria for awarding these types of exemptions, then, please reach out to me and you can work on that with whoever else wants to work on it during the interim. SB 480 is the cross file of Delegate Rosenberg's bill that creates a tax clinic, that creates a funding source for tax clinics for low-income Marylanders. George, the amendments on this just simply conform it, right? Or no, sorry, there are no amendments on this one?
There are amendments to the bill. The amendments will conform it to House Bill 421 as has been amended by the Senate, and you will be considering that concurrence later today. The effects of the amendments are to transfer oversight, as was done under House Bill 421, of the grant program for the tax clinics from MHEC to the comptroller. It would limit the transfer of the income tax revenues for the program to fiscal 2022. Difference between House Bill 421 and Senate Bill 480 is that you had limited that transfer to $100,000 in fiscal 2022, and instead this will be at $250,000. In addition, it would require the governor to include an appropriation of $250,000 in the annual budget bill for the grant program for future fiscal years. That is the effect of the amendments.
And it would change the distributions, right? It would require that they be split evenly between the three recipients.
Yes, that aspect of Senate Bill 480 was not amended. I apologize for neglecting to mention it. In House Bill 421, you had a distribution of 40, 40, and 20 between the two law school programs and MVLS. The Senate bill distributes that equally, 1/3 to each of the entities.
Delegate Buckle?
So if I'm summarizing correctly, what we're doing now with this bill, different than the bill that I think we all voted for, we're putting it back to the $250,000, which is fine with me. We'd reduced it to 100. But perhaps more troublingly for some is we're now mandating it out in future years with an unlimited, I guess, with no limitation. It doesn't say just mandated for 2 years, 3 years. It's just the governor will pay for this program. Which
correct.
I believe in the program. I'm a graduate of one of the law schools. I think it makes sense, and it's not an enormous amount of money. But I know that some people may have a concern with a forever, quote unquote, mandate for the program that we had effectively removed. Am I getting that right, George? I mean, that is a summation of what you, okay.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
Let me,
And I mean, is it the committee's
let me hold, I'm
position?
gonna hold, let me hold
Your
this
guys' leadership
bill. Yeah, let me hold this bill till the end of the meeting today. I want to get feedback on something. So
Okay.
I'll just place a hold on that temporarily and we'll come back to it. Senate Bill 609 requires that the Maryland Industrial Development Financing Authority develop a marketing plan to help promote information about its programs. I think, George, it's focused largely on underserved communities, right? MBEs and such.
Correct. It would require MITFA to work to increase utilization of the programs and funds to assist minority and women-owned businesses in the state and consider incentives to encourage the use of its credit insurance services. It has to develop a marketing plan to increase awareness of those credit insurance services.
A fiscal note basically will market state programs better. I move favorable.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? I got you, Delegate Ivey. You made it just in time. That was good. Excellent. All right. So that bill is recommended favorably. Senate Bill 769. So we've had a number of bills related to venison in subcommittee this year. As you'll recall, my HB 7 We had amended earlier in session and moved across to the Senate. And the Senate reverted many of our amendments. And we have appointed a conference committee on that bill. Essentially, the disagreement is about whether to continue or even increase the current credit or whether to transition it to a grant program. And we had sort of taken the position as a committee that we were going to transition to a grant program, and the Senate came in a little bit differently. So these amendments on SB 769 would, for the most part, conform the Senate bill to what we had previously passed out of the House, with a couple of tweaks that I want to mention to you. So the Senate bill included a provision the House bill did not, requiring a study on chronic wasting disease and whether it's entering the food stream. Chronic wasting disease is similar to mad cow disease, but in cervids, in deer. And so this bill has that language in it. These amendments would keep that language, so it would still have the CWD study. It also includes some clarifying language regarding the Montgomery County portion of the credit. And is that it, George?
That's principally the difference. There was a requirement that the bill includes establishing procedures for an individual to claim the tax credit for the expenses. The venison donation programs that accept the donations need to report back to the comptroller on certain information regarding the donations received during the immediately preceding taxable year. And then with respect to the Montgomery County deer donation program, affidavits that are collected need to be also provided to the comptroller's office.
So, questions on these amendments? All right, I move the amendments.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? On the bill as amended, I move favorable.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? All right, that bill is recommended favorably. I'm going to hold SB 480. I'm going to seek some clarification from the Senate sponsor. And so I'll add that to the list for tomorrow. We will be sending out a list soon for a subcommittee meeting tomorrow. If you have a pen and paper handy, I'm happy to list out for you the bills that we currently have on that list that should be coming up tomorrow. There's a pair of bills, HB 987 and SB 459, that set up a comprehensive technical assistance program for small businesses. We'll bring up 480, the bill from today on the tax clinics, as well as 787, the bill we held over on the corrective bill. And then 622, which is the cross-file, the diaper bank bill, 639, which creates an inclusion fund in TEDCO, and 885, which is Senator Hester's bill having to do with catalytic revitalization. So that's the likely list for tomorrow. That'll be sent out to you by email. Are there any questions for the good of the order? Anyone have it? Delegate Long?
You said the first two bills, it got 987. What was the second one?
HB 987 and SB 459. So there are cross-filed bills that create a comprehensive technical assistance program.
Okay, fair enough.
Any other questions? Anything anyone want to say before we go and the people that haven't eaten go eat? I can keep talking for a while to keep Delegate Buckle from eating his lunch.
I'll kill you.
All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We will see you in committee for full voting session in a little bit.
4 o'clock, correct?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.